Hi, everyone. I'd like to do a shout out to our sponsor, Bako Diagnostics. Early detection is the single most important factor in improving patient outcomes. The Bako Diagnostics team recognizes how impactful a podiatric physician can be and remains committed to supporting you in your role as the first line of defense in diagnosing conditions of the lower extremity. Thanks to the unwavering support of our clients, Bako Diagnostics has been able to give back to the podiatric community for 16 years by providing podiatric educational resources and advocating for the profession. Bako Diagnostics, helping podiatric physicians keep America on its feet. If you have not yet had the opportunity to utilize Bako Diagnostics services, get started today by sending an email to corporaterelations@bakodx.com. The first 50 podiatry offices who request a starter kit will receive a Dean's Chat mug. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dean's Chat, where we discuss all things podiatric medicine. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Jensen. I'm the Dean at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine and the host for the Dean's Chat podcast. Once again, I'm with my wonderful co-host, Dr. Johanna Richey. Hi, Jo.
Hey, it's really fun to be in the studio together.
It is fun. It's second time probably.
Yeah, but especially across the way, it's very unique to have so many fun things to talk about.
Well, I'll tell you what, these are my favorite episodes because we bring in students from the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine. Our group today are all in the first year class of 2028. You're all almost done with your first quarter. And our goal in doing this series is that every quarter we're going to bring this cohort, 4 students back, and we're going to talk about your educational experience and the journey. And it'll be incredible to watch you all grow. It'll be a lot of fun for you to go through the basic sciences, boards, clinicals, and our audience is going to get to experience it with you the whole time. So we're really excited. Let me at this time introduce each of our students. Joining us, all of them from the class of 2028. To my left, Paige Langford. Welcome to Dean's Chat, Paige.
Thanks so much for having me.
You are welcome. And Paxton Ingram, welcome to Dean's Chat.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We're glad you're here. And Ari Gerber.
Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. And Athena Najar.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Well, we have a kind of a script, if you will, but we want to keep it free-flowing. No stress, just relax. You know all the answers because it's all about you.
So we'll start with, we're going to put you in the hot seat first, Paige. First up, right? Batter up today. We'll start with, tell us a little bit about your undergraduate experience, where you went to undergrad, what your degree was in. Tell us a little bit about how you found podiatry, and then if you had the opportunity to shadow, what that experience was like for you.
So I did my undergrad at the U of A, and I got my Bachelor of Science in Physiology, and then I did my minors in Art and Anthropology, which were both really fun. But I kind of I always knew I was going to be pre-med, and I kind of didn't know where I was going to go from there. So I took the MCAT and then just didn't do anything with it for a while. Started scribing in an emergency department. And kind of while I was there, I saw a lot of wound care things because it wasn't a trauma. We had lost our trauma status, but there were still a lot of people being sent over from a podiatric clinic that was across the way for IV antibiotics. And those were my favorite cases to work on. And everyone knew that I was that interesting one who wanted to go see all of the interesting wounds. And I figured out that I loved wound care. And so I ended up shadowing my dad's podiatrist, and he's a really great guy, and he showed me so much stuff, and I realized oh man, this is it. This is exactly what I wanted. So that was pretty much what it was. It's kind of just a nice linear progression for me.
Yeah, that's a really neat experience to see some of that in the ER. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Thanks.
All right, Paxton, you're up. Tell us about your undergrad, your how you found podiatry, and then your shadowing experience.
So I went to undergraduate at Utah State University in Logan, Utah. So shout out to my Aggies there. And I graduated in exercise science. And so I really loved sports medicine and knew that's something that I was interested in pursuing. And my whole undergraduate, I was planning on pursuing the MD route the entire time. And once I graduated, I knew I wanted to take an extra gap year to just finalize that's what I wanted to do with my life. And I got a job in healthcare scribing for Dr. Rigby, who was the foot and ankle surgeon for Utah State Athletics. And so shout out to Dr. Rigby and Michelle, the MA there. They really fostered my love for this profession. And so at first I was a little skeptical. I knew I liked orthopedics, sports medicine, but I wasn't sure that podiatry fit into that mold. And him being the foot and ankle surgeon for Utah State Athletics, and also the different injuries and trauma that we saw there, really sparked my interest in it, and realized this was a path that I was interested in and could see myself doing in the future. And it's also really surreal. About a year ago was when I started listening to this podcast to further make sure this is what I wanted to do with my life. And so it's surreal being here now. And so that's how I got interested in it, took the MCAT, and decided this is the route I was going to go.
That's really fun. I have to tell you a fun fact. Ryan Rigby was my upperclassman, just to give like the full shout out to Dr. Rigby. It's so funny, like the people that you knew and the people that you guys will now know in your classes, and you'll watch everyone's careers evolve and develop, and it's just neat. It's fun to be like, I know them. You know? So anyway, thank you so much for sharing.
He was in the first graduating class.
Yeah,
at Midwestern.
yeah. He was great then. He's great now. So I'll shout out your endorsement with you on that one. All right, Ari, tell us a little bit about your undergraduate experience shadowing and why you picked podiatry.
Very good. I went to school at University of California in Riverside. I played baseball out there as well, so I'm a student athlete, which meant it took some time to figure out how to study and play sports at the same time. But that all finished up, and then I moved out to Texas. That's where I would soon meet my wife. That's where we got married as well. At the same time, I was still trying to figure out again what I wanted to do in medicine. I applied MD originally. I'm grateful I didn't get in because it gave me some more time to get some clinical experience. So I joined a clinic out there for Dr. Jeremiah Graff. Great physician. He has everything figured out, and I'll tell you that, which gave me a really good insight into what is podiatry. And at first, it wasn't on my radar. I think that's very similar for a lot of students. And as I started to get into the field more and see wound care, see surgery, which I wanted to do was surgery, and just see everything that has to offer, I was like, oh man, I'm not going to get bored with this. This is something I can do for 30, 40, 50 years if I wanted to. So that kind of solidified that, okay, this is something very realistic that I could see myself doing. So kind of, kept my hands busy, and, I worked in the clinic for 2 years, and I was like, okay, I definitely want to do this. I don't even want to do MD anymore.
What's interesting is we have so many students that were student athletes or did extracurricular activities in college. And I think what it helped them do is understand time management, because time management is so crucial to success in the medical school curriculum. So that's interesting that you say that you were playing sports and had to learn how to study and prepare. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I wish I figured it out sooner.
So right, those growing pains, if you will, I'm sure set you up for success in multiple other ways as your life continues to evolve. So some of those obstacles and roadblocks, they are opportunities, right, to learn and grow, and it's a good framework to keep moving forward. So
yeah, it's hard to see it in the moment, but as you get past them, as you get past each one, it becomes more clear. That's Definitely. All that they are.
All right, Athena, we're going to move to you. If you can give us a little bit about your undergraduate experience, your degree, how you found about podiatry, and then what your shadowing experience was like.
Absolutely. So I'm from El Paso, Texas, and I got my undergraduate at the University of Texas at Austin, go Horns. And after my undergraduate, I came back home, took the MCAT, and then it was time to find a job. And so I started applying to jobs, and the first place I ended up was at a podiatry clinic. And I spent some time there, got a lot of hands-on work with patients. I really loved my job. I loved what I did. And about 6 months into working there, one of the doctors really took me under his wing and kind of asked me, what my goals were in life, where I wanted to end up. And he was the one who kind of sparked that idea in me of becoming a podiatrist. And I just took off from there. I really loved my job, and I thought, wow, I can just continue to do this forever. And that's how I'm here.
Isn't it fun as you hear about all the different shadowing experiences? It's like when you get to see something in action, how much of an impact that can make. Not knowing enough about something and just the opportunity to see it in real time and ask questions. And that's really neat. Thanks for sharing that.
And to come full circle here, Athena knows one of my classmates from the California College of Podiatric Medicine.
Yes. Yes, Dr. Efren de la Rosa, or you know him more as Dr. Buff.
Dr. Buff.
Yes, he was the owner of the practices back home, so he was really able to help me guide my podiatric journey, and he was able to kind of show me what it meant to be a podiatrist. There was a whole other side to things that I didn't really know about, working in clinic, and he was a big part of that journey.
Buff, we appreciate you sending great students to our college. Thank you very, very much. All right, well, thank you. The next question I have is kind of an important question for us, of course. Why did you choose the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine? There's 11 colleges of podiatric medicine, and there's 3 on the west side of the country, 2 in California and here in Phoenix. Let's start with Paxton. Why'd you choose Arizona?
Well, this is where Dr. Rigby graduated from, and so, of course, that was part of the influence. And this is the only college I seriously pursued. And once I got in, I just accepted it, and that was that. So it wasn't a huge endeavor as far as that. But some things that really sparked my interest for here was first, it's in the West. I'm from the West, and so I was close enough to family. It's a pretty short plane ride to get home. And second of all, my wife has family here, so it's nice for my wife and for our daughter to also have some family around. And third is that I knew my education here would be a great one, especially because we take all of our general science classes with the DO students. So I knew I was going to get a well-rounded education here that would help prepare me for the future and supplement my education all around.
Thank you. Ari, why did you choose the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine?
Well, I wish it was as easy as Paxton on deciding. There are a lot of schools out there, and I did consider each one very intently, especially with my wife. We both made the decision together, and there were a lot of things that were pointing towards Arizona for us. So I have family in California, grew up in San Diego, and then family in Texas. So it is kind of not quite midway, but I had been to Arizona before. I played baseball, like I said earlier, and we were out here all the time for spring training and all that. So I kind of knew Arizona. Oddly enough, Arizona was the one school that made me nervous about applying. I was like, this is a great school. There are plenty of other schools that have these great numbers, and I don't know, there's something about Arizona. And I didn't get the email back right away that, hey, we want to do an interview. I was like, uh-oh. But I sent an email out, and, sure enough, it was just a little early. But, just there's a lot of things pointing. I think, like Paxton, the DO students being integrated with those courses just meant that, okay, we're taking a lot of the same classes with these other physicians, not just other podiatrists. So I get to see more than just podiatry while I'm in school. And that was a pretty big factor.
Very good. Athena, why did you decide on the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine?
So I had started looking into schools, and I really liked how Midwestern had a really small class size. Coming from a big university, I was really looking forward to getting to know my professors and having my professors get to know me. And I was really excited for that kind of one-on-one experience and being able to spend time with my classmates and get to know everybody. So that was really the big deciding factor. And once I came in for my interview, I really loved it there. The interview just felt like a nice little giggle session. We, talked about things, and everyone was so kind to me, and I just felt like I belonged.
Very good. We've never had our interviews described as a giggle session, so that's new.
Sounds like fun, though.
It sounds like everybody's looking for fit, right? You're looking for fit, and Arizona School's looking for fit, and obviously it worked out. So that's wonderful. All right, Paige, why did you decide on the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine?
Well, I'm from Tucson, and so it's 2.5 hours away from my house. And I really like staying close to my family. I'm so close to them, and I was living at home right up until I came here, and they want me back constantly. So I didn't want to move too far away from my family, and this was perfect. I also have a tortoise, and he can't leave the desert area, so that narrowed me down just a little bit.
Oh.
But similar to Athena, like when I got into the interview, I was like, everyone was so nice. And I know what she means by like the giggle session. Everyone was like really, really nice the whole time. And I was like, oh yeah, like I feel really welcome here. And so I knew I was like making the right choice, and I didn't need to like look anywhere else. This was pretty much the only place that I truly wanted to consider.
Well, we're glad you did. All right, well, let's take a little bit of a break and do a shout out to our sponsor. We all know that early detection is the most important determination in improving patient outcomes. Bako Diagnostics remains committed to supporting you in your role as the first line of defense in diagnosing lower extremity pathologies. Bako Diagnostics, helping podiatric physicians keep America on its feet. Bako is just a tremendous sponsor and educational group for our profession, and you'll be meeting them doing biopsy labs in your dermatology course. So we're so happy to have Bako as a sponsor. Joe and I have worked with them, and they're just fabulous. So you'll see their name a lot in the coming years. All right, Joe.
All right, so let's transition a little bit. Each of you have had to make some kind of a move, even if it was maybe just a couple hours away. Can you talk a little bit about what that kind of transition process looked like, moving away from home, settling in, what that transition kind of broke down for you? And Ari, we'll start with you this time.
Great. So, yeah, it was a journey. It was a 19, 20-hour journey. But it was, I think, good timing for us. So my wife and I got married, and so we'd been married about a year. And it was a good time for us to kind of go off on our own, away from family. I know there's some ties with family that we like, but there are some times where you have to go out on your own and just kind of become your own family. So I think the Lord's timing, that was so great. And I think the only part that made me nervous was driving that U-Haul truck with a car behind it down that mountain in Flagstaff. That was the worst part, but once you get here, we got here in June, so it was the hottest part of the year. It was
hard month to move.
Yeah, it could have been better.
Yeah.
But I feel like we settled in really well. We just noticed everyone in Arizona seems so friendly. And I don't know if the dehydration is everyone's delirious, but it was definitely a nice, pleasant surprise. It didn't feel like we were away from home. It felt homey. Mm-hmm. So that transition was nice, and then gave us about a month to settle in before school started. We just wanted to have as few changes as possible all at once. So spreading it out was helpful.
Are you living on campus or off campus?
We're in an apartment off campus. It's like, there's so many, but about 5-10 minutes away, depending on traffic.
Very good. Yeah, I always like to tell students when they're thinking about coming to school here that we're not really in Phoenix. We're in North Phoenix, and we're counter commute. And the college, being in Glendale, is wonderful because there's mountains and there's water, and you can go fishing or sailing or skiing if you want.
2 hours away.
So it's a really nice environment. So that's great. Thank you.
And I love that you had mentioned too, kind of the idea of bringing the important people with you on these journeys. And a lot of times the questions that prospective students might have is like, when do you get married? And Paxton, you talked about your, I think you said daughter. Mm-hmm. So again, those are wonderful things if you can kind of include some of that about, and pets. We have family members of all shapes and sizes, fuzzy and tortoised. So if you can kind of bring some of that kind of vibe too, if you brought people and family members of all kinds with you, kind of what it looked like for them too. All right, Athena, we'll go to you next.
Absolutely. So I moved in a couple of sessions. So I took a couple trips out. I'm from El Paso. It's about a 6-hour drive. Nothing too crazy, not like Ari. But I'm a little bit different in that I left, some family back at home. I did leave a fiance back home. This decision was a little bit sudden for me. So I just kind of packed up my stuff and left, and he'll be joining me soon. And we'll be getting married next June. But making that transition, that made it extra hard, being away from that support system. But I think, having the closeness with the classmates, because you're going to get to know your classmates so well. You are with them all day, every day, for better or for worse. But really, it helps you make these really great connections with people, whether it's with other podiatrists or with DO students. And I think it helps to kind of form a new network of support, for students that might be leaving their support system back at home. I feel supported here. I feel like, there's a lot of people I can rely on. So when I was making that transition, I don't necessarily feel lonely or anything. I did bring a cat with me, so he's been definitely keeping me company. He's really interested in the iPad. So, but I really, I feel like the transition was really helped along by all of the supportive faculty and students that we have on campus.
Congratulations. That's really exciting. And thank you so much for sharing all that. All right, Paige, we're going to go back to the other side of the table. Tell us a little bit about your transition.
I also moved in like quite a few sessions, and I'm actually still kind of just a little bit still moving in. My family will like bring things up, and they'll be like, my dad will text me pictures like, do you want to keep this? Do you want me to like throw this away for you? I'll be like, throw it away. But I also brought up like my tortoise, and I brought up a cat too. And my tortoise lives on my balcony right now. Please don't tell my apartment complex. But that was an interesting drive up with him in a little box. And let's see. I guess it was weird to like move away from my family because I never really moved away from them. We're all, like I said, we're so close. And me and my dad would like, drive up here all the time because I take him to the Mayo a lot because he's got a lot of health issues, and that's where most of his care is. So we used to like actually drive by campus just on the way back because it's pretty close.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's weird to just like not live with him anymore. But when I was a scribe, one of my colleagues was starting the DO program at the same time. And so we were just like roommates.
Yeah.
And now we're roommates. And that kind of, honestly, that's like helped with some of that like weird transition for me to like move away from my family. It's still having like another body there of someone that I know.
Yeah, something familiar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I can absolutely understand that.
So
Thank you.
All right, well, let's transition into academics.
We were going to get Paxton.
Oh, Paxton, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm jumping the gun
We
here.
got one more.
My bad.
No, you're good. Move-in was a little stressful for me because we did it during orientation week. So it was a lot in a very short time. So for those who don't know, at least this year for us, I don't know if it's different year to year, but we have a few days the week before classes actually start where we have orientation where you go, you listen to a bunch of lecture-like things about every topic at school except for the curriculum, basically. So I drove one of our cars down from Logan to go to orientation, and then we figured it would be easier for my wife and daughter to fly down. So what we did is we did kind of a swap. So I drove the first car down, and then I hopped on a plane and flew to Salt Lake and met my parents who were helping move our another car and a trailer down, and then my wife and daughter flew. So then I basically drove it twice. So it was a lot during orientation week, and then we started classes on Monday. So it was a lot in a very short period of time. So it was a big change, but it also just got me in the mindset that things are going to change. So I'm ready to study and ready to get after it. As far as that though, it's been a little bit of a change because we used to drive up to Idaho, maybe even a couple times a month. So it's a little bit different as far as that. But around here, we still have lots of our hobbies that we like to do. We like hiking, and we've hiked twice. Well, we've hiked a couple times now. One of them was 108, and then it was 107. So we can't go on as long of hikes as we're used to, and still change. And hopefully, it'll cool down at some point.
It will. It will. It might be December, but it will.
Paxton, I always found that in a job change or an educational change, that long road trip is kind of therapeutic. Mm-hmm. You got to do it twice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, now we're going to switch to academics. So I had a couple questions. Now, one is starting this curriculum is challenging. Did you have some free-floating anxiety? Let's talk about the courses. You've got 3 courses right now: biochemistry, anatomy, and pod med. I want to talk about your experience, and then when we're done talking about that, we'll talk about some study strategies that have worked for you. Athena, do you mind starting?
Absolutely not. So starting with these 3 classes, the metaphor of drinking from a fire hose, definitely true, but you learn strategies to drink from the fire hose. So that's been my experience so far. It's going to be a lot of material coming in, but you learn ways to handle it. Definitely the pod med course is a nice breath of fresh air amidst all the craziness. That's really the class where you get to kind of do what you came here for. We came here for podiatry, and that's where we get to know each other and learn a little bit about that. But so far for anatomy, they're heavy classes, but they're doable. They would not let you in if they didn't think you could do it.
Well said. Paige, what's your experience?
Yeah, it was a lot. Like that first week, I kind of looked at it and I was like, "Ooh, this is crazy." And then we did like the pod med course, and I was like, "No, okay, I can do this again. Like this is fun. This is the fun part." And then every time I jump back into like anatomy, I'd be like, okay, this is getting kind of a lot of it. I go back to pod med. I was like, okay, I'm good now. This is fun again. And like kind of as I've gone on, I've been feeling like more and more like, okay, actually more of this is fun now. And now it's like I've gotten into a rhythm, I think, a little bit more. Like it's only taken, like 8 weeks now, but like I've gotten more into the rhythm now, and I feel a lot better kind of like through each class than I did before.
Did you have any free-floating anxiety coming in, or did you just think, I'm just going to go in and make it happen?
I was like, I kind of at first I thought like, oh yeah, like it'll be fine, I'll just do it. And then like I kind of started doing it and I was like, oh, never mind. But yeah, the free-floating anxiety has gone away now a little bit.
I was
just nice.
I brought it up because it's normal to have that. And then because it's a competence thing. And then once you learn how you study best, you get confidence. And then with that confidence comes competence. So good for you. All right. Paxton, how about you? What's your experience been for class-wise?
Yeah, so coming in, I expected it to be hard. That's part of the reason I chose Midwestern, because I knew I was going to get a tough education. And yeah, it was hard.
It met the challenge.
It met the challenge. But I've kind of seen a transition even just through these first 8-9 weeks. Is maybe it took me even the first maybe 3-4 weeks, I'd be sitting in class and be like, man, this is hard. I don't know if I can do this. And it was that mindset. And now, even this week during lectures, this is hard, but then my mindset has switched where I can do this. I know the study strategies now. I know how to incorporate this information. So it's doable now. It's still hard. So nothing with that has changed. But so anyway, I guess a stronger mindset now.
Absolutely. Ari?
Yeah, I think it's been made pretty clear that it's a lot of material. Not all of it is crazy hard that you just have to think through for hours just to know what it means. It's all there, and it's just a matter of processing it. And I thought, biochemistry was going to be a lot harder than, my undergrad. I did an undergrad in biochem. And then I figured out that it's just covering all of it in a shorter amount of time. So that was, I think, a surprise. And I was excited to get into school and to start. I've been wanting to do it. I've had so many questions that I knew school could answer. It was just kind of filling in the gaps. And each day, each week, there's that one little thing in lecture. It's like, oh man, it finally makes sense now. And it just gets me excited about, okay, I want to keep going. I want to keep going. And I think Paxton touched on this too, is, first couple of weeks, you're like, man, am I going to be able to do this? Like, this is a lot of stuff. And as you get more used to that, and then you get your exam, and then you have another week of material, it becomes a process. And that's really all that it is just processing all this material into a way that can make it stick, and then that you know how to really just teach it to anyone else.
Makes sense. I was going to ask 2 more questions. You want me just to jump into that?
Sure, go for it.
So I'm curious as to tips you would give somebody coming behind you next year. What did you learn in terms of how you study to make it easier over time? And then I also wanted you to comment on the quarter system. Quarters are different than semesters. So I believe Paige,
right.
you're up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see, study tips. I thought that at first I would need to deep dive into every little thing, and then I quickly found out that is extremely overwhelming to do, and that you actually just need the basis first. If you can get all the basic stuff memorized, because there is a lot of rote memorization, but then there's also a lot of things that you can start piecing together like a puzzle. And so once you get that foundation, then the rest of it just kind of builds up off of that. And it's taken me this long to figure that out because I was trying so hard to write down notes and over and over and over again and get all the little details memorized first. And it's no, you just have to get you have to just get all of the basic, even just the words sometimes. There are lots of big words, and if you can break them down all those Latin roots, then you know where you are. And that's probably the thing that I figured it out probably within the last couple of weeks. So.
And what do you think about the quarter system?
I've never been on a quarter system before, and it feels interesting. It's weirdly fast. It just it goes by so much more than I thought it would, But it is kind of nice because I'm looking forward to this like week break that we're gonna get up here soon.
Very good.
Sustain, like periods of sustained high energy, high effort, and then a time to recover and recharge.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I did things anyway. So I'm like, actually, it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
In like an interest, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it too much beforehand, and now I'm just kind of like, well, this kind of works out for me. So.
Very good. Paxton, your study tips and the quarter system, how's that working out for you?
So some study tips. So everyone learns differently, so it's all about learning how you learn. For me, I'm trying to interact with the material in a bunch of different ways. So I go to class to hear it. So I'm trying to hear it and see it. And then I do a lot of flashcards. I'm very visual and just like rote memorization. So I build a lot of flashcards. And the thing that I've preached to people all the time that I'm actually incorporating now is it's kind of like a pacer for a race, is you need to find somebody who knows the material better than you do. And so first or second week, I found Ari. And anyway, I learned very quickly he knows the material really well. And so he's my pacer. He makes sure before a test, if I can go through with him and talk about the information, we ask each other questions all the time. And he's gotten into test writing now. So before every test, he writes his own test of 25 to 35 questions. Yeah. And it's way harder than the real test. So if I can get a C on his exam, I'm going to do well on the real exam. So he's my pacer, and so we each study our own different ways, and then we have certain times during the week where we come together, quiz each other, and make sure we're both up to pace.
Yeah, that's a two-way street.
Well, that's interesting. You know, there's money to be made tutoring, Ari.
Well, I don't know about that yet.
So I think that's a great way to learn and create your own exam that's harder than the exam you're about to take. And that's a new one on me. I mean,
well, and I think you had mentioned earlier too, if you can teach something, then you really know it. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's a study tool, and it helps classmates as well. You build that relationship, and certainly it's interesting to hear like the people that gravitate towards study groups or study partners and the benefits they find out of that, and then people that gravitate to other kinds of resources and content mapping. And there's so many different strategies out there, and finding what worked for you is always fun to hear.
So how do you assimilate information, Ari?
So that's a longer question because it takes a long time. But before school started, I actually spent some time looking into how to learn. It was probably the best use of my time during the summer. It just gave me ideas of what to try, because going into school, I think the only nerves that were there were, okay, how is this going to work? Is this studying method going to work? Now, I stuck with mind mapping, concept mapping from the get-go. I just looking into it, it just made sense to me on how to assimilate information. And there's some research out there, too, to support that, as well as narratives from other people. So I started with that, and unfortunately, I saw really great success with that early on, and that just kind of reinforced, okay, this could work. But the advice I received was, I think Paxton already talked about this, but is, get with someone. There's going to be a few people that you can get with, that you get along with, and might have the same goals. And, try and get with those people. And that's a good way to meet classmates. And that's how we met. We were like, oh, yeah, this is your background. That's kind of similar to mine. Or where do you want to go? Yeah, that's where I want to go, too. So I think that kind of helped us build that relationship. And then as we studied together and tested each other and quizzed each other and did it all over again, the system that we developed and just used together was really helpful. And it was a good way to keep your pulse on what else is out there. Because like you said, we learn differently, and he might use the flashcards more, whereas I'll just try and memorize my mind map. And when we come together, it'll show deficits on, okay, maybe I missed this or misunderstood this. And we'd explain it to each other, him explaining it to me more often than not. But yes, the quiz is getting back to that. I started that probably week 3, once I kind of had my feet under me. And it was just a way for me to, okay, how would I get tricked on this material in the exam? And then I start thinking about the question and the presentation of the question. And I felt like it was matching up with the exam questions. I even had a couple of people say, hey, that was very similar to this question on the exam. And, that was good, but my intention was for these questions to be used later on for boards prep. That was really the main goal. So I had some question banks to go back to when boards comes around, and then I'm actually nervous. So I think that's how it started, but I think it's proving to be more of a useful tool, even just writing it for studying than taking it later on.
Very good. And your thoughts on the quarter system?
I was in a quarter system for school, so this was perfect for me. It was the pace that I liked about the quarter system. It was all go, and then, okay, take a little break. All right, let's go again. More of a sprinter, not much of a marathoner.
There you go. Well, thank you. Athena, what's been your experience with study tips? What's worked for you? And then how have you incorporated that into the quarter system?
Right, okay, I'm going to start with the quarter system. If not, I'll forget about it to go back to it because I'll get stuck up on studying. So for the quarter system, I really enjoy it. It's a big change of pace from the semester system that I had before, but I really like being able to kind of learn the material really well and not having to hold it in your brain for such an extended period of time like you do in the semester system, especially once finals come up. You know, that information's been sitting there for a really long time. So I'm enjoying that, you know, we go through the information, it's hard, you get it done, and then we're going to get a really nice break, and we start again. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. I'm looking forward to that little brain break. And then for study tips, I'm a big advocate for group studying. I feel, for me, that helps a lot. And a big change that I made coming from undergrad. In undergrad, I was the girl with the colorful pens and the highlighters and all that good stuff. So I came in with my little notebooks in lecture, and I was ready. And that did not work for me here, which was a big change that I had to make. But definitely here I feel that, you know, annotating the lectures is much easier than having to handwrite everything. That's not something that I feel is as feasible in medical school as it was in undergrad. And then there is a group on campus, SSP. They make some review questions for us that are really great. I really enjoy all kinds of practice questions. Ari's quizzes are really good. So if I run those through with some friends, I feel that that's really beneficial because come exam time, I can hear in my brain me and my friends, you know, talking about those practice questions, why the answer was right, why other answers were wrong. So I really enjoy that kind of group aspect of it.
You know, I think it's really cool that you're all working together. I remember during orientation, we said we all play on the same team, right? We're helping you. You're making the college great. So I think that's just music to my ears to hear that you all work together to help each other.
Especially so early on, because I don't know, certainly for our class, which again, I can only speak to one experience, but I certainly didn't figure that out until second year. And my study group saved me in second year because, you know, trying to just stick your head down and just get through it 10 weeks at a time, 8 weeks at a time, whatever the quarters are. Even with that 1 week break, it can get a little wearing, and having people and colleagues around you to help make it fun and still be educational is, you know, really important and valuable. And those people to this day are still huge players in my life. So it's a great transition to some of the things that maybe you guys do to recharge your batteries or when you're not studying. Kind of what are the things that light you up? I think we're at Paxton. So we'll start with you, Paxton.
So the big thing with me is that I block out half of my Saturday every weekend. It doesn't matter. We have a test every Monday, and so weekends can be really stressful. But no matter what, I say half of my Saturday is going towards recharging me so I can be a better student and spending time with my family. And so some things that we like to do around here, I spoke about hiking earlier. I also fish the canals around here every Saturday, which has been brutal. It's been more torture in the heat. There's no shade on the canals, but it's been interesting. It's also been a way to just explore Phoenix and Glendale, which is very nice. I also recharge. I watch a lot of sports. So college football gets me through the fall. Every fall, we got baseball playoffs right now. I'll pull that up while I'm studying in the evenings in the library. So those are the major things. Obviously, spending time with my family, going to church on Sunday, getting some spirituality back into my life every week. I recharge with that. So those are things that get me ready for being a better student during the week.
Fantastic. Ari.
All right. Well, I don't go out into 110-degree heat like Paxton. I like to stay indoors and work out. But when the weather is nicer, my wife and I like to be outdoors, and we'll likely be hiking as many trails as we can before it warms up again. I think she has 100 planned. I don't know. But we just like being active. I think it takes a break off the mind. You don't have to think about it. You just go do. Especially with the background in sports, you kind of have to get some energy out some way. So that was a good way to do that. And then also going to church on Sunday, and have to be fed in the spirit as well, not just the brain. So that was also a really great break, and because I know that's where I get that wisdom from, and God's the one that placed me here. He's the one that has put me on this path, and that comes through prayer and just kind of tapping into his will. And so I want to give glory to him for each of the opportunities I'm presented with and each of the people here that have poured into my life. So that's how I recharge, and that's, for me, the best way.
Thank you.
So there's a couple of things that I really like to do to recharge. One of them, I do take Saturday evenings. And since I am in a long-distance relationship, we're big fans of playing Magic the Gathering. I don't know if any of you have ever played before, but we'll set up our little table. There's a website we use, and we'll play Magic the Gathering for a few hours. It's nice to just kind of de-stress and, spend some time with my fiance. So that's one of the things that I love to do. And then another thing I love to do, we have our exams on Mondays. So once I get home Monday, I like to put on some music, clean my apartment, get some cooking done for the week, because, during the weekend when you're hunkered down for an exam, it can get a little crazy. So I like to really reset my space. I feel like it helps me to reset my mind and get myself ready for another round of studying.
I love that. I was very much in the clean. You always knew when exams were coming up because it was the best distractor that I felt productive, but I just need a brain break. And so things would be spotless right before exams. All right, Paige, finish the section for us on how do you recharge?
Well, I kind of have no choice, because my cat likes to do this thing where if I'm not paying enough attention to him for a long period of time after he wakes up from a nap, he will come over and he'll tap my face with his claws just slightly out. And so that's how I know. I'm like, I have to take a break now. And we go and we play with his string for half an hour or longer, or sometimes all night, because he loves his string and I just got him 2 new strings. So that's mostly what I do. I've always been an animal person, so I just hang out with my animals.
You don't need a Fitbit. What's your cat's name?
Nugget.
You have a Nugget bit.
Exactly.
That comes and tells you, Paige, it's time to take a break.
And he is he knows his times. Even in the mornings, I'll go out to do my tortoise's his morning routine. And he knows that if I've opened up the back door that I'm going to come back in, I have to pat his butt for 10 minutes while my tortoise soaks in water. And it is a whole routine, and it happens every day. 7 a.m. on the dot.
There you go.
And he knows if I don't wake up to my alarm, he will wake me up.
Tell us a little bit more about the tortoise. I'm interested in this.
He's a sulcata. He is, so that means he's going to get huge. But right now he's little. He recently turned 1 year old. I got him from an ER doctor that I used to work with, because I tortoise sat for him. And then one day he texted me when I was briefly in a cardiac clinic, and he texted me right in the middle and was like, "We had babies." And I got a baby because I was like, I insist.
There you go.
And right now he's about the size of my hand, and he should be getting approximately 200 pounds one day. He's 470 grams right now, because I track his weight.
And how old do they live?
If I do it right, he should be 80 to 120 years. So he will outlive me, and I need to start his trust fund now. So
You got to get him on a routine.
Every day, 7 a.m. And he knows, too. He'll look at me, from underneath his little thing and be like, "Where's my food?" Because he doesn't get food until he's been soaked in water, because they get dehydrated.
Very good. Well, what's his name?
Ollie.
We'll get to follow Ollie for a few
There
years.
you go. I hope that you have some kind of social media feed for your pets, because
Not yet, but that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
All right. Well, all work and no play is not the answer. And one of the neat things about the quarter system is you work hard for 9 weeks and then you get time off. What are you going to do for your week off coming up soon? Ari.
Probably go hiking, and then also process all the trauma of all this information getting shoved in my head. So a little bit of time to do that, and just to kind of learn, okay, what went well, what went bad, and just kind of make changes. I think making changes a little bit throughout the quarter is very helpful, and that's what I'd recommend. But yeah, probably go hiking and I don't know if any trips are planned just yet. We'll probably reserve that a little bit later in the year. So yeah, that's probably what we'll do.
Do you still pick up a baseball ever? Play catch? Or?
I'll have to knock some rust off my shoulder. We've been meaning to go to a batting cage, maybe go to the spring training fields. That'd be really cool. But yeah, playoffs are going on right now, so that's always exciting.
What position did you play?
I was a center fielder and a pitcher, so did a little bit of both.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So who's your baseball team?
You asked me this earlier. The Padres. You just want to hear me say that on air.
Well, they're playing really well right now. I don't want to jinx them, though.
Yeah, let's not do that. But
right. Athena, what are your plans for break?
I am definitely excited to get back home. I'm going back home to El Paso, Texas for a little bit. Our break happens to fall on Halloween, so I'm really excited. We have some, Halloween plans with my family. And I'm really excited to recharge my brain, kind of turn my brain off for a couple of days, not learn anything new for maybe a day or two. And I'm just really excited to go home, eat some good food, hang out with my family, and recharge.
Go back and see Dr. Buff and say hi.
I'm absolutely gonna go and see him. I think he's trying to get me to work a couple days, but I'm gonna try to fight him on that.
That's funny. That's great. And Paige, what are you going to do?
Packing up the animals and going back home. It's only the 2.5 hour drive. So Nugget will just scream the whole way in the car, and Ollie will sit quietly in his tub. And then that's pretty much it. I'm just going back, gonna sleep the whole time. My parents can take care of my animals.
There you go. Paxton, what are your plans for break?
Yeah, excited for a little break. We have some family coming in, a few of my in-laws, and then my brother's flying down. So I think I'm going to go explore Flagstaff and Sedona since I haven't been up there yet. And then I think Paige would know more about this, but I think I'm going to go down and see Organ Pipes National Park down by Tucson. Oh, she hasn't been to it. So we'll go explore that, and I want to go do some hiking and just explore the area a little bit more.
And fishing.
Fishing and disc golfing. I'll get some disc golfing in.
Well, let's talk about fishing a little bit. What are you catching in the pond, in the
canals?
The canals when it's 100 degrees?
Almost all of them, they're called grass carp.
Okay.
So they're the big carp. They stock them in the canals to keep them clean. Okay. So they almost only eat moss and leaves. So which is pretty hard to catch with a fly. So I have to tie flies that are green and look like moss. And
that was my next question. Yeah. Fly fishing. So
that's part of the innovation is tying flies that look like foliage.
It's great hand skill too, tying flies. So
I've had and there's no good patterns for it. So you have to be creative and make your own. That's interesting.
I like that. That sounds like a kind of a battery recharging thing too, tying flies.
I do. Yeah, usually each Friday night when I get home, I tie some flies, and then Saturday I use them.
Yeah.
So I try to innovate every week to see what would work better, maybe.
Well, that's fun.
I like that. That's great. I'll go fishing with you one of these days. Okay. Joe, anything else?
I would love to end on what are you the most excited about for second quarter as you get a new kind of schedule and
with adding physiology to the mix.
Build upon the things that you've learned. Like, what are the things that you're really excited about? And I think we are back to Ari.
Let's see. I am looking forward to biomechanics. I know it's going to be a tougher one, but it's one I've been looking forward to. I got a little taste of it in clinic. And it was very fascinating to me how one little thing can go wrong and the whole thing goes wrong. So I'm looking forward to that. Plus, it's just nice having one of those courses for PodMed that just kind of keeps things in perspective, that you're learning all of this stuff. But in the end, when you graduate, you'll be doing it, and that's what you got to school for. And I think just having a little taste, that little reminder, keep the bigger picture in mind is really helpful. So I think biomechanics is going to be just that for me.
Biomechanics is such a wonderful foundational course. I'm excited for you. So, all right, Athena, what about you? What's your most excited about for second quarter?
I think one of my favorite things at the beginning of a new school year, a new quarter, is kind of setting everything up, getting all the syllabi written in my little planner, and kind of planning out my quarter. I'm really excited for biomechanics. So far in PodMed, it's been like a really nice intro course to what we're going to see. And biomechanics, I think, is the first time where we're really going to get down and dirty with the material. So I'm really excited for that. I'm excited for the new courses. I'm excited for a blank slate. We're at the end of the quarter, we're starting to feel a little tired. So I'm excited for that energy, excited to learn, feeling again.
Fantastic. What about you, Paige?
I'm also really excited for biomechanics. I think everyone is. But
Dr. Tom's is going to be thrilled, by the way.
I know, like when we went through the intro slides for it, I was just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be so much fun. But because then we're actually like getting into the real stuff and more direct about like what we're actually doing, and I'm just so excited for that. So
Very good.
Well, since biomechanics has 3 shout outs now, I'll talk about anatomy. So our next part of anatomy is we're going to start lower extremity dissection and cadaver lab. So we're not going to be as in depth as we will next summer when we do lower extremity dissection just for podiatric medicine, but we're going to start getting in the area that we're all interested in and going to be working in. So excited for that, and also excited that winter quarter will fall with Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I think it'll break up the quarter even more. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if that's harder to have to come back from breaks or if it'll be nice to have breaks during the quarter.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. It's a double-edged sword a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's nice to just end the quarter and go on vacation for a couple weeks. On the other hand, you've got some time you can kind of catch up on your studies and do better. So
Yeah.
everybody's different.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Absolutely. That was
We
all
went
of
all the
them.
way around. Yep.
Fantastic.
So we'll throw it back to you.
All right.
All back to you, Jeff.
So my plan would be we get together again next spring, and we'll kind of review what's going on in the second quarter, maybe beginning of the spring quarter then. Definitely want to get together before summer starts, when you start dissection lab. And we appreciate you coming in and sharing your experience. It seems like it's so immediate. It's here and now, and it's new. But I think when you go back and you watch this episode a year from now, you'll be like, wow, I'm glad I wasn't back then.
Well, it's so fun, right, to look back and be like, oh, remember that? Like all those things I didn't know yet. And then like how far you've already come just in the 8 weeks. And I think this is a really neat, it'll be a really fun experience, I think, to track yourself that way.
Absolutely.
We're going to have fun watching it if you don't have fun doing it. So
Absolutely. And I think it's just a couple tips. You know, if you are struggling in a course, don't spend several hours trying to work through a concept. Contact your professor. It's easier for them to explain something to you in a few minutes than trying to work through it by yourself, because time is of the essence. And the other thing is you have to have a short memory. If something doesn't go the way you want it to go, it's okay. You know, you just set it aside and regroup and move forward. So diligence and perseverance will take you a long way. So
I think that's why so many of our athletes are really successful, like getting that experience of like, you got to just let it go and move on. Yeah. And some people are more successful at that than others. And perfectionists are not very good at that. But if you have the sports part, like you learn those tactics earlier to try to move forward.
Success is waiting.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hey, to all of our listeners out there on Apple and Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating. And what Joe and I really want you to do is leave a couple comments.
Or reviews.
And or reviews. Yeah. Absolutely. And if you're watching on YouTube, by all means, become a subscriber. And also give us some comments also. And then be on the lookout. Explore PodMed is a website that the American Association of Colleges of Podiatric Medicine puts out. And they take little snippets of our videos and they put them on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. So be watching out for those too. So until next week, thank you all for coming. Thank you for listening and watching. Cheers, everybody. We've got some new Dean's Chat cups here. Cheers.
Cheers.